Okay, now we mentioned before about the Productivity Commission having as Tony Abbott wants the Productivity Commission to have a look at this concept of subsidies for nannies. I mentioned that in this context. Barnaby Joyce might be running for a lower house seat. If he does, there's a good chance he'd be looking to lead the National Party after the next election. Of course, that raises a prospect, Barnaby Joyce, Deputy Prime Minister. This is something that he had to say about the Productivity Commission recently.
These people actually do read the Productivity Commission reports. I don't, and I use them when I run out of toilet paper.
Now, it just raises this question, how helpful would Barnaby Joyce be to Tony Abbott as a running mate? It would be open to the Labor Party to run advertisements as the Democrats ran against Richard Nixon when he said that he appointed Spiro Agnew as a running mate all those years ago, and they produced an ad called the Laughing Man ad. Have a look at it.
Yeah.
Now,
isn't that brilliant?
But
it didn't work, David.
It didn't work.
No, it didn't stop it. You're right.
Richard Nixon was elected, and Spiro Agnew along with him. But then very shortly after that, Spiro Agnew had to resign in disgrace.
That's right, because of corruption occurred when he was Governor of Maryland.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's true. But look, what are the prospects anyway? Karen, do you get a sense that this is the way that it's unfolding, that Barnaby Joyce is quite genuine about going into the lower house? I think that's for certain. But what happens beyond the election?
Well, the problem for the opposition is that they've already had to move Barnaby Joyce out of one portfolio because they felt that he wasn't managing it, that he was stumbling over figures and that he was not being able to stick to the big picture, which is where he's good, is his colourful language and his broad sweep assertions. But they moved him out of finance because he was a problem. So I think they would find, if he had the status of Deputy Prime Minister, that they might strike the same problem again. But he's certainly going to try. He's very popular. He's popular among the Nationals constituency and even broader. So it'll be interesting to see how far he goes.
Yeah. What do you think, Piers? Do you think
I agree with Karen's assessment.
But can Tony Abbott line up with the prospect of Barnaby Joyce as a running mate, in effect, and do you think that would be a plus or a minus?
I don't think it will occur, quite frankly, but I think that Barnaby Joyce's popularity across regional Australia and parts of metropolitan Australia is not to be underestimated, because he's seen to be a natural person. He's not a Labor apparatchik. He's nobody's apparatchik. And I think that the public has had it up to here with political staffers and other people who are there reading from scripts.
Well, I think that's true. Like, it might sound like the message is confused at times, but clearly people listen to what Barnaby Joyce has to say. Take Bob Catter, for example.
Yes.
I mean, you might make the same criticism of him. He got 11% of the vote in Queensland statewide.
Huge, huge.
And I think we should... I think we should look forward to the prospect of Barnaby Joyce being Deputy Leader of the Opposition and, at Christmas time, Prime Minister of this country. I don't think we should take a sourpuss view of this possibility.
Deputy Prime Minister, I think you're suggesting, or Prime Minister?
Well, he would be Prime Minister at Christmas time. He'd be acting Prime Minister. For a few happy weeks every year, we would have Barnaby Joyce as Prime Minister, and this is not to be sneezed at.
I'm sure he'd entertain you with a barbecue, David.
Now, Tony Abbott, a couple of times in recent times, has had to say that he regretted certain language that he used. He talked about the bullseye on the forehead of Julia Gillard and Anthony Albanese, and now, of course, we have the story about the Julia Gillard's wardrobe. Let's see how this story unfolded during the week.